Keisha Kennedy, welcome to the Dreamers podcast.
Thank you.
So, can you tell the listeners a little bit about you and what you do?
Yes, my name is Keisha Kennedy. I am from Richmond, Virginia. I am a military brat, so I have lived all over the world, thankfully. So I was born in Germany. I've lived in Colorado, California, Kentucky, Virginia, and I graduated high school in Germany. So currently I reside in Kuwait. I am a military contractor. I was also in the military, so I'm a veteran, and I graduated from Virginia Commonwealth University. I have a Bachelor of Science, concentration in chemistry from there. And then I also have a master's in Homeland Security, followed by additional two more degrees because the military paid. So I wanted to use all of my benefits. So I went back to school once I fell in love with fitness and got in an associate and a Bachelor of Exercise Science. So thankfully, I have no college debt. But currently, I am a real estate investor. So I started off in residential space. I purchased my first home, which was $29,500 in Richmond, Virginia. It came with the lot next door. I purchased it in 2011, and the house was built in 2010. I had no idea what I was doing. I purchased that home when I was living abroad. The only thing I had to do was just pull up the carpet and slap a for rent sign on the outside. So that's how my journey started. And so fast forward, now I am a syndicator. I purchase and invest in apartments through a process called apartment syndication. Last year, I wanted to scale from residential properties into the commercial space. But this time I didn't want to be self-taught. I didn't want to figure it out along the way.
Can you share an early childhood memory when it comes to money and how it impacted you?
Yes. So growing up as a child, I was the only child. I am 38 years young currently, the day that we've recorded this podcast, if you're listening. And I am the oldest of four. I was the only child for 13 years. However, my parents did introduce me to a savings account, and I recall depositing money into a savings and understanding the value of money. However, no one sat me down and went through investing my money. However, I will say that I did see my parents have rental properties, and then my grandmother had rentals. And then I was told that my great grandfather had rentals, but we didn't have those conversations about investing.
So, how old were you when you first got into real estate?
I was 27 years old when I first started investing.
So, what made you decide to get into it, especially as a long distance investor?
Yes. So I had tax-free money. Military contractors, we come over here because we're paid well and it is tax-free and all of our accommodations are taken care of. So we pocket a lot of capital. And I wanted to purchase something to make my money work for me. And I was at work actually looking at property online, bank foreclosed homes back then. Those are the properties that I purchased and I still have them to this day. So I purchased the home, not intending to live in it. So I knew that I wanted to purchase it for an investment. And my first tenant, I was getting $823 off of that $29,500 home that was still basically brand new. And so I got my money back within 2 years for my initial investment. And I just brought another one the next year and just continued the cycle because I seen that it was working. I saw the life that it afforded me to have grown up as a child from my father investing. And so I knew that was the way that I should go.
And you said that the property was basically almost brand new and you purchased it for $29,500? Wow.
Yes, because this was after the market crash. So the prices, we can't buy homes like that anymore. So I'm happy that I did go ahead and take initiative and start investing in real estate in 2011.
Where did you find the property?
It was online, a bank foreclosure. And I just recently did a cash out refi on a couple of my properties. And that one, again, I didn't have a mortgage. I paid cash for it. So I got a lot of equity built up in it. And I took some equity out and I'm going to reinvest that capital into apartments. But cash out refi is basically taking a percentage of the equity out of the home that has been built up over time. So for example, if I had purchased a home that was valued at $100,000 10 years ago, and I decided to do a cash out refi today, and that home is valued at $250,000, you have built up equity over time. So if you purchased the house and it was 100,000 and you've been making payments and now you have a $50,000 balance left on it, you have that built up equity over time. So you have $150,000, right? And so what you're allowed to do is to go and refi. So that means that you'll refi on the loan, apply, get approved, and you can take a percentage depending on the bank. It also depends on if you're living there, if it's an investment property. So for me, I was able to take out, I believe it was 70 or 80% of the equity up to that. I didn't have to take it all. I could take out some. And my payment, of course, will increase a bit. However, I am still cash flowing and the tenant is still paying for my mortgage. So it was a no-brainer. And I was leaving those properties for my family. Let's be real here for a second. A lot of people that have property that's given to them, they either don't pay the taxes, they end up selling the home, they end up losing the home. I said, I might as well leverage what I have, the equity that's built up. And then on top of that, I don't have to pay taxes on this. And so most people, what they'll do is they'll take that cash out. Instead of blowing it, they're going to reinvest it in another property or an apartment, but they will reinvest their money. That's how real estate investors continue to make money and build their capital. 90% of millionaires are made by investing in real estate.
So I know you mentioned earlier that you were now into apartment syndication. How many residential properties did you have before deciding that, okay, it was time for you to get into commercial real estate?
So it was 5 at the time. So I said, I want to scale into apartments. And I thought I had to do it alone. So commercial property is anything that is over 4 units. So 5 and above is considered commercial. And so I started reading and educating. I was reading books, listening to podcasts, reading blogs, attending free meetups. Like I said, I reside in Kuwait. However, there's so much education online compared to when I first started. It's so easily accessible. How bad do you want it? You can find it. You can find good things on the internet, or you can find bad things on the internet. And so I found some good things, which is I came across the word apartment syndication. And so if you're listening, you do not know what it means. It's basically real estate investors that are pulling their resources together to take down apartments. So you have a limited partner, which will invest their capital in the deal. And then you have a general partner, which is more active in the deal. So the limited partner is only passive. So we consider them like a silent partner, but they are receiving the benefits of investing in real estate, such as tax benefits. They receive the cash flow from the property. So they'll receive quarterly or monthly distributions, and then they'll also receive profit from the sale. In addition, they'll receive their capital back. So they are considered a limited partner. So they have a passive role. And there are 2 types of limited partner. There is an accredited limited partner and there's a non-accredited. So all of this is regulated by Security Exchange Commission, the SEC. So an accredited investor is someone that makes $200,000 if they're single for the previous 2 years, or if you're married, it would be $300,000, or has a net worth of $1 million. There are some other stipulations that can apply that can exclude you from having that, which will also qualify you for accredited, but that is the main general qualification. So if you do not fit into that category, you are considered sophisticated investor, so non-accredited. A general partner, a GP, as I mentioned earlier, is someone that is active in the deal. So they are finding the deal, boots on the ground, due diligence, investor relations, raising capital, asset manage. So there are a lot of different roles when it comes to general partnership. And so we collab, both the general partners and the limited partners, and we invest our capital in the deal.
So when you invest in a deal as an accredited or an accredited investor, is there a difference in terms of your rights?
So an accredited investor has access to accredited investment opportunities. So as a general partner, I am both a general partner and a limited partner. I started off as a limited partner and now I'm a general partner. I can speak about that later. However, the difference between the two, an accredited investor falls under 506C, under 506B. So an accredited investor does have access to both non-accredited and accredited deals, right? However, the 506B does not. They are limited to only invest in non-accredited opportunities. However, there are only limited spots available. And this is regulated again by the SEC. We are only allowed 35 spots for non-accredited investors. And you have to have a pre-existing relationship to find out about those deals because you cannot solicit to non-accredited investors. An accredited investor, you can email, you can put it on social media, but you cannot solicit to non-accredited investors. And so my main investor base is actually non-accredited. The reason why I am a general partner is because I want to cater to people that look like me, people of color. There is a wealth gap, and I want to be able to be the voice to let them know that, hey, you can invest in real estate. There aren't too many people like me, right? And so just helping minorities, educating them, inspiring, motivate, and then also for fellow veterans. But there is definitely power in investing in real estate.
Before we started recording, you mentioned that you were invested in over 500 units through real estate syndication. And I know recently you closed on a pretty big apartment complex deal. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So I want to back up because I want people to understand my journey in apartments. So I started off as a limited partner. My first deal was 27 units as a limited partner. This is passive. 27 units in Richmond, Virginia. I knew the market. I'm from Richmond, Virginia. I just had to understand the terms. It's like speaking a foreign language when it comes to commercial compared to residential. And so what I had to do was understand what I was getting myself into, education, because it's easy to look online and be inspired, but it's important to understand what you are investing in, the risk, the team that you're investing in. You want to make sure that you like, know, and trust the team prior to the deal, because this is a holding period. I failed to mention that earlier. Apartment syndication, it can be, each deal is different. So it can vary from 3 to 5 years, 5 to 7, even 10 years. So my first deal that I invested in was 27 units in Richmond, Virginia as a limited partner. On that deal, I want to discuss that deal because it's my first one. On that deal, the minimum was $50,000. You can invest more if you'd like as an investor. The holding period was between 5 to 7 years. Refi in year 2, getting 100% of my capital back. However, I was going to receive infinite returns. So this means I'm going to continue to receive cash flow distributions, which is quarterly over the time that the general partners decide to hold it, if it was up to 7 years. So this was a home run investment, especially for my first opportunity. So I was really excited about that. And then one of the exit strategies that I liked was that the apartments will be sold as condos. But the good news is that also that it's been less than a year and they've already put it up for sale. So I'm excited to get my capital back within the next 2 months on that. And guess what? I'm going to reinvest. So after the first deal that I invested in as a limited partner in Richmond, Virginia, I invested in my second deal last May in the same month. It was 81 units in Florence, Kentucky. The third and fourth limited partner deal that I invested in was student housing. So 19 units in Scranton, Pennsylvania, 24 units in Columbia, South Carolina. And then I had my first opportunity to be a co-GP on a deal. It was 56 units in Waco, Texas in October. And I'm a limited partner on that deal as well. And we closed on that in December. My next deal, I was a general partner on 120 units in Des Moines, Iowa, and we closed on that about 2 months ago now. And on that deal, I brought on 10 investors that were minorities. That was their first apartment syndication deal that they invested in. And so I was really excited to have them. So on that deal, I'm both a general partner and a limited partner. And it brought me so much joy because it displayed my reason why I am educating, motivating, and inspiring on social media. It's because I was able to bring on those investors through 506B. So a lot of them are my family, my friends, my sister. She's 25 years old. She invested on that deal too. So I was very proud of that deal.
That's amazing. So tell me more about the syndication process. I think you mentioned that when you invest in a real estate syndication deal, there is a time horizon, right? It could be a few years, or I think your first deal was 5 to 7 years. So is there always the timeline to sell the properties when you invest in a syndication deal? Is that always the goal?
Yes. So In a syndication, our buying criteria is to purchase value add properties. So what does this mean? We are purchasing properties that are below market rent and that where we can add value. So what is adding value? So we can do interior or exterior renovations. We can add a pergola, a barbecue, a clubhouse, a dog park, any way to increase the net operating income. That's what you want to do so you can increase the returns for your investors. So that is our buy-in criteria. And once we go in and make those renovations, we will increase the rent because it is below market rent. And then we will stabilize and then we will sell. So it's kind of like flipping a home where they go in and they make those renovations and then they sell and then they refi and they rent and they repeat and just continue to do the same cycle. It's the same thing, but just on a larger scale, like commercial. And the reason why I wanted to invest in commercial was because it's easier to manage. It's easier to scale. In apartment syndication, I am scaling fast because I am leveraging someone else's experience, leveraging them being able to sign on the debt and just continuing that cycle. So I prefer apartment syndication over trying to do it myself. So the strategy is to have a holding period and each deal is different. It can vary from 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, but there is a holding period. So your capital will be locked into that deal over that time until they do a refi and they give a percentage of your capital back or all your capital back or when they sell. So each deal is going to be different.
And when you're a non-accredited investor, do you have to invest cash or can you find other ways to bring in your capital?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there are multiple ways that you can invest in apartment syndication. You can invest from your checking or savings account. You can invest from your 401k, your retirement plan. You can invest from, this is my favorite, your self-directed IRA. So a lot of people aren't aware that they can invest from their self-directed IRA or don't even know what a self-directed IRA is. So basically, it's a retirement plan. However, you have the capability of investing in real estate, investing in crypto. You can diversify. So if you had a previous position at a company and you had a 401k and you left that company, you still have a 401k. However, since that 401k is not attached to that employer anymore, you can open up a self-directed IRA. So you can roll that money and open up a SDIRA. After you open it up, you can invest in apartment syndication. So the money will come from your self-directed IRA into the distributions will be deposited back into your self-directed IRA, and then the return of your capital and the profit of the sale. So definitely leverage that. If you have an old 401k, open up a self-directed IRA.
Just to clarify something you said earlier, so if you want to invest from your retirement account, you would have to roll over an old 401k into a self-directed IRA. But can you also invest from your current 401k, or do you have to borrow from your 401k?
Yes, good question. Clarification. You have to borrow from your 401k. I have an investor that did that on the 120 unit, and he borrowed money from himself, and then he's going to have to pay himself back from his 401k. So good question. Thank you.
Well, you said also, as a general partner, you are responsible for raising capital, right? But what other things do you do? Do you manage the properties day to day?
Yes. So a general partner will find the deal, boots on the ground. They will do the due diligence. They will help raise capital. They will do asset management. And so asset management, there is a fee in a syndication. One of them is asset managed. And that's because the general partners are asset managing the property. They're dealing with the day-to-day, like you mentioned earlier, whereas limited partner is not. And so we are ensuring that the property management company that we do hire is executing the business plan and the occupancy rate, is increasing the rent over time, ensuring that they aren't failing in ways that we can assist them. So we want to make sure that we are asset managing the property manager so the investors can receive the best return for their money.
Got it. And you've been involved in several syndication deals, right? Can you tell us maybe on average what your return on investment has been percentage-wise?
Yes. So when I invest as a limited partner, I am looking to double my investment over time. For example, if I put in $50,000 over the duration, I want to get back close to, if not more, $100,000. right, over that extended period holding time. So I'm looking between to 12% cash on cash return. And again, a 2 equity multiple. But I'm always looking to double my investment. It's better than the money just sitting in the bank and the bank is leveraging my money and lending it out. Mm-hmm. So just putting my money to use. I've seen deals that are as low as 8% cash on cash. So 8 to 12% is a good target range if you're looking to invest in a deal as far as cash on cash return. I'm also looking for the equity split. So in apartment syndication, there is going to be a split between the general partnership team and the limited partnership team. So I'm looking for a 70-30%. So this means that 70% will go to the investors, the limited partner, and 30% will go to the general partnership team. So those are the basic things that I'm looking for. Also looking at the deal itself.
And so how do you even find syndication deals? Not as an investor, as a limited partner.
Yes. Basically, you have to be in the network, right? You have to be in the know. Most syndicators or general partners have an investor portal. I have an investor portal. And on that portal, you will see the current opportunities, investment opportunities. I have a beginner's guide to investing as a limited partner. You can also find general partners and syndicators on LinkedIn. You can find them attending meetups online or attending conferences. There are multiple ways that you can find syndicators and get on their email distribution list. But my properties are listed on my investor portal, which is on my website.
So do you have any advice as far as like how to vet general partners?
Good question. How to vet a general partner. Basically, the best advice that I can tell you is to start building those relationships over time from the beginning. Again, you want to make sure that you like, know, and trust the general partner, and they should also make sure that they like, know, and trust you, because this is a relationship. This is like a marriage. So you want to see what type of experience they have. Ask them, have they had any deals that went through full cycle? Are they under any mentorship? Tell them to explain the deal, ensure that they are comfortable with answering all of your questions, because if they aren't in the beginning, then it's going to be a long holding period, right? You want to make sure that you understand the exit strategy, the cash on cash return, the equity multiple, the internal rate of return. There are a lot of abbreviations in commercial investing that you want to make sure that you understand. But again, you want to make sure that you like, know, and trust them from the beginning and ensure that they have a reputable journey in real estate. And ask for referrals. I highly recommend asking for a referral from the general partnership team prior to investing in their deal. Also do a background check. I highly recommend that as well. You want to make sure that they don't have any charges or anything like that, but definitely do your due diligence on the general partnership team and also on the deal itself.
You said earlier that your first syndication deal, you invested $50,000. Is that kind of like what people should expect to put in a syndication deal? Or is there such a thing as a minimum amount if you even want to consider investing?
Yes. So most of the investment opportunities will be around $50,000. I've seen it as low as 25, but most of them average is 50,000 and up. So just because the minimum is 50,000, you can put in more. You don't have to put in just 50. You can put in 100, 150, 200, however you like, how much you like. However, again, the average is about 50,000.
Got it. Can you tell me maybe about the lessons that you learned since your first deal to now?
Yes, lessons that I've learned as far as being a general partner is that not everyone is going to invest in your deal. I'll never forget my first syndication as a GP. I was so excited. I was like, yes, I have people that are interested, and your friends and your family will more than likely, if they're not already investing or not familiar with the process or feeling uncomfortable or have a little bit of fear of letting someone else take control of their money invested, they will not invest in your deal. So my lesson learned there was build relationships ahead of time prior to having a deal. And the lesson learned from being an LP was take that risk. I believe that it's not really a risk. I believe that the risk is not investing. That's what I believe. I won't lie. I was scared to go from being in control of my capital as a residential investor prior to investing as an LP. And once I did that, opportunities opened up for me. And I continued to invest in other deals. And I was able to get into a general partnership team. And so I'm just glad that I went ahead and invested in my first deal. The hardest part is starting, and that's what I did. And I've progressed over time. And I highly suggest that you start your investment journey, whether it's in residential or whether it's in an apartment complex or apartment syndication. And you have RV parks, you have storage units, mobile homes. There's so many different asset classes, but I knew that I wanted to set myself up to leave that legacy and to help others do the same as well.
So for anyone who's listening or watching, what are some of the steps that they can take if they want to find out more about how to invest in a real estate syndication deal?
Yes. So I mentioned it earlier, and I will always say education. Start reading books, listening to podcasts, attending virtual meetups, even hire a coach or a mentor. If you don't have a budget for that, it's okay, because there are some free masterminds out there that will allow you to get educated. There are so many resources out there. So don't let that stop you from starting your journey. But I would like to leave your listeners, as I mentioned earlier, the beginner's guide to investing as a limited partner. If you're maybe interested in starting your journey, just like I did a year ago, feel free to go on my website, which is www, of course, the World Wide Web, right? KennedyRemedyInvestments.com/guide to download your guide. I always love to chat with people about investing. I will give you 30 minutes of my time and hopefully bring you some value. And I can educate you on apartment investing. And then I also do an educational webinar once a month to educate you on investing or some type of resource that can help you to invest in apartments.
And so you said books and podcasts. Is there a book that you can recommend or a podcast that you can recommend as well?
Yes, the book is The Best Ever Apartment Syndication Book by Joe Fairless. It's up here on my bookshelf. That is a book that I highly recommend. That's one of my favorite books to get started in the business, whether you want to be a limited partner or a general partner. He drops so many gems in that. Multifamily Insights is one of my favorite podcasts by John Kasman. That's one of the podcasts that I started listening to when I first started in apartment syndication.
Perfect. And so I always end the interview with a round of rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Tell me about a book that changed your perspective on life.
Yes. Who, Not How by Joe Sullivan. Absolutely love it.
What's one thing about money you wish you could tell your younger self?
Man, start investing earlier than what I did, but better late than never. Put your money to work instead of saving. Society teaches us to save for a rainy day, but we will never make our money work for us. And we're going to continue to be in that system to work until we're 65 or 60 years old. You have all this college debt, this credit card debt, but start investing and create the life that you want.
What's the best investment in yourself you've made so far?
Getting a mentor or a coach. That has been the best investment that I made. Invest in yourself.
Filling the blank in 3 words or less. Money to me is?
Money, freedom.
What do you want your legacy to be?
Yes, my legacy. I want people to remember me as helping them changing their trajectory of their life by building generational wealth, financial freedom, and leaving a legacy for themselves.
Amazing. All right, Keisha, thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast. Please tell the listeners where they can find you.
Thank you. This has been so much fun. This is my passion. So I really do appreciate the special invite that you sent me. They can find me on LinkedIn, Keisha Kennedy, Keishia. I'm also on Facebook, so Kennedy Remedy Investments, and on Instagram, Kennedy Remedy.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.